What if I told you that the decision you made this morning, without even thinking about it, could be the reason your life looks completely different 20 years from now? Not a job decision, not a marriage, not a move across the country, something smaller, something so small you'd laugh if I called it life changing. $10. That's it. $10 a day, the price of a coffee and a sandwich, the cost of a streaming subscription, the amount most people lose in their couch cushions over a weekend. But here's the part that should make you sit up. That $10 decision, made consistently or ignored consistently, can be the difference between retiring with over $1 million or retiring with nothing, between choosing your job or needing your job, between freedom and 40 more years of I have no choice. This isn't a video about coupons. This isn't a video about giving up your latte. This is a video about two people, same start, same paycheck, same city, same dreams, and one decision that quietly split their lives in two. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how one tiny choice can separate two completely different lives. And somewhere in the next 40 minutes, you're going to recognize yourself in one of them. Let's call them Jake and Marcus, both 25. Both just landed entry-level jobs in the same mid-sized American city, Columbus, Charlotte, Phoenix. Take your pick. Both make $52,000 a year. Both have student loans. Both rent one-bedroom apartments 15 minutes from downtown. They went to the same state school. They have the same degree. On paper, if you handed their resumes to a stranger, that stranger couldn't tell you which one would end up a millionaire and which one would still be living paycheck to paycheck at 55. Because right now, there is no difference. Not in income, not in intelligence, not in luck. There's only one decision that splits their timeline. And it happens so quietly that neither of them notices it happening. Jake opens a brokerage account, sets up an automatic transfer, $10 a day, about $300 a month, into a simple S&P 500 index fund. He doesn't check it. He barely thinks about it. It just leaves his account like a phone bill. Marcus does nothing wrong. He's not reckless. He's not irresponsible. He just doesn't do that. The $10 a day stays in his checking account, and like water, it finds somewhere to go. A bigger lunch, a few extra subscriptions, a nicer pair of sneakers when the old ones are still fine. That's it. That's the whole difference. No dramatic moment, no movie scene. Just one quiet decision, repeated or not repeated, every single day. And here's the unsettling part. For the first few years, you genuinely cannot tell them apart. Here's a question worth sitting with. If $10 a day is genuinely capable of producing $1 million gap, why doesn't everyone do it? The answer isn't math, it's psychology. And once you see it, you'll notice it everywhere in your own life. First, present bias. Our brains are wired to massively overvalue right now and massively undervalue later. A coffee today feels real. A retirement account 40 years away feels like fiction, something that happens to a stranger who happens to share your name. Second, instant gratification. The sneakers give you a dopamine hit in the store. The index fund gives you a number on a screen that doesn't even move much. One feels like a reward, the other feels like nothing at all, which is exactly why it's so easy to skip. Third, lifestyle creep. Every time income goes up, spending quietly rises to meet it. The raise that was supposed to go toward savings instead goes toward a nicer apartment, a better car lease, a few more dinners out. Not because of one big bad decision, because of dozens of small I deserve this moments that never get questioned. Fourth, consumer psychology. Subscriptions are built to be forgotten. Checkout buttons are built to be one click. Buy now, pay later exists because companies have studied exactly how human beings struggle to value future money. This isn't an accident, it's an industry. Fifth, social pressure. Nobody posts a picture of their index fund. Everybody posts a picture of their vacation, their new car, their night out. So the version of success we're constantly shown is the spending version, not the quiet, invisible, boring version where money just sits there growing. Put those five forces together and you get the real reason most people don't invest $10 a day. It's not that they can't. It's that nothing in their environment ever makes it feel urgent. The cost of skipping it is invisible. Until one day it isn't. Fast forward 1 year, Jake has put in about $3,650. After market growth, his account sits around $3,800. Marcus looks at that number and laughs. That's it? A whole year and you've got an extra $800? I spent way less effort and I had way more fun. And honestly, Marcus has a point. This is the part nobody talks about. In the first few years, investing $10 a day does not feel life changing. It feels small, almost pointless. This is exactly the phase where most people quit. They open the account with motivation. They check it after 6 months, see a few $100 of growth, feel underwhelmed, and stop the transfers. I'll start again when I make more money. Spoiler, they rarely do. By year 3, Jake's account is around $13,000. Still not exciting. Still nothing he'd call wealth. There are nights he wonders if he should just stop and use that money for something fun, a trip, a better couch, anything that feels real right now. But he doesn't stop, not because he's superhuman, because he made the transfer automatic, so quitting would require an active decision, not a passive one. That's the whole trick. Automation doesn't rely on motivation, it removes the need for it. By year 5, Jake has contributed about $18,250. His account has grown to roughly $21,000. Marcus, over those same 5 years, spent his equivalent and has nothing to show for it. No doubt, 3 from it, but no asset either. It simply happened, and then it was gone. $21,000 doesn't sound like millionaire money, and that's exactly the trap. Because this is the boring middle of the story, the part where compound interest is working silently in the background, and almost nobody can feel it yet. Somewhere around year 7, something shifts. Jake's account crosses $40,000, then $50,000. The growth isn't just out from his contributions anymore. It's from the market doing something his $10 started years ago, compounding on top of itself. Money making money, without him lifting a finger. This is what financial people call wealth momentum, and it's the part of the story that finally starts to feel real. Meanwhile, Marcus hits a different kind of momentum. His car needs $2,000 in repairs. He puts it on a credit card because there's no cushion. A medical bill arrives that insurance only partly covers. Another card, a friend's wedding, a slow month at work, a rent increase. Nothing catastrophic on its own, but each one lands on a foundation with zero savings underneath it. By year 10, Jake's account sits around $95,000 to $100,000. Marcus, by contrast, has accumulated roughly $8,000 in revolving credit card debt, not from one bad decision, but from a decade of having no buffer for ordinary life. Same 10 years, same salaries, give or take a few raises, completely different financial gravity. This is the moment the story stops being about discipline and starts being about direction. Jake isn't smarter than Marcus. He just pointed his money in one way, 10 years ago, and let time do what time does. Marcus pointed his money nowhere in particular, and nowhere turned out to be a direction too. It just pointed downward. This is where the story stops being subtle. By year 20, Jake has contributed a total of about $73,000 of his own money. At an average historical market return, his account is worth somewhere in the range of $400,000 to $450,000. And the gap keeps widening every single year because more and more of that balance is growth, not contributions. Marcus, 20 years in, is 45 years old with little to no investment savings and depending on how those small gaps got filled over 2 decades, possibly still carrying debt. But the real story isn't even the number on the screen, it's what that number buys in real life. Jake can consider a career change without panicking about income gaps. Jake can put a real down payment on a house. Jake has options if his company has layoffs. Jake can help a parent in a financial emergency without going into debt himself. Jake, at 45, has choices. Marcus, at 45, has a job he can't afford to leave, even if he hates it. Marcus watches rent and grocery prices rise faster than his paycheck. Marcus sees retirement as a word that applies to other people. Marcus isn't lazy. Marcus isn't a failure. Marcus is simply living the compounded result of thousands of small, invisible, not today decisions stacked for 2 decades. And if we run the math forward to a normal retirement age, 60 or 65, that same $10 a day habit, left untouched, cruises well past $1 million. Not from one big win, not from a stock that mooned, from compound growth on a decision so small most people never even noticed they were making it. Now picture both of them at 50. Jake isn't rich in the flashy sense. No yacht, no mansion, but he has something most people his age don't. Quiet, deep, financial calm. He sleeps well. He doesn't flinch when his car needs a repair. He's already had the conversation with himself about retiring early, not because he has to, but because for the first time, it's actually his choice. Marcus sits with his bills one evening and does something painful. He does the math backward. He realizes that if he had started at 25, doing almost nothing different in his daily life, just redirecting $10 a day, he'd likely be looking at retirement with real security right now. Instead, he's looking at another 15, 20 years of mandatory work, not optional work. And here's the psychological twist almost nobody talks about. Research on regret consistently shows something counterintuitive. In the short term, people regret their actions, the embarrassing thing they said, the risk that didn't pay off. But over the long term, the regrets that haunt people most are regrets of inaction. The things they didn't do, didn't start, didn't try. Marcus's regret isn't about a specific bad purchase. It's not even about money, really. It's the quiet ache of knowing that nothing dramatic stopped him. No emergency, no disaster, just thousands of ordinary days where the easier choice quietly won. That's the kind of regret that doesn't fade, because there's no villain to blame, just time and the version of himself who kept saying tomorrow. Here's the truth this whole video has been building toward. This was never really about $10. $10 is just a symbol. The real story is about habits, the systems we build or fail to build before we even feel ready. It's about identity. Whether you see yourself as someone who invests in your future or someone who deals with the future when it shows up. It's about consistency, the unglamorous, repeated, boring action that compounds into something extraordinary precisely because nobody's watching and nobody's applauding. It's about time, the one resource that money literally cannot buy back. Jake didn't win because he was smarter. He won because he started at 25 instead of 35 and gave his money 2 extra decades to grow. And maybe most importantly, it's about future self thinking, the simple radical habit of asking before a decision, is this for me right now or for the person I'm going to be? Jake's $10 a day was never really an investment in a brokerage account. It was an investment in a version of himself he hadn't met yet, and a quiet vote of trust that that version of him would be worth taking care of. Your future isn't built by one giant decision. It's built by thousands of tiny ones. The coffee, the subscription, the impulse buy, the automatic transfer you never think twice about. None of them feel important in the moment. That's exactly why they're so powerful. Nothing that small should be able to determine that much. And yet, here we are. So here's the real question this video was always asking. Underneath the story of Jake and Marcus, the question isn't whether $10 can change your life. The question is whether you are willing to give time the chance to work for you, because time doesn't ask for your motivation. It doesn't care if you're ready. It's moving forward either way, with you or without you. Before you go, I want to leave you with one question. If your future self, 20 years from now, could send you a single message today, what do you think it would say? Would it thank you, or would it ask you why you waited? Put it in the comments. I read everyone. And if this video made you see your own $10 a day a little differently, you already know what to do next.